No one could have predicted the seismic impact of this live television moment. Ibrahim Traoré, the young and resolute president of Burkina Faso's transitional government, faced Ava DuVernay, the acclaimed filmmaker and cultural icon, in a conversation that would leave the world in tears. What began as a routine interview turned into a raw, unforgettable exchange, hailed as one of the most profound television moments of the decade. It was a rainy Monday afternoon in Ouagadougou when the call came. Ibrahim, finishing a meeting with local leaders, was handed a phone by his assistant. "Mr. President," she whispered, "it's Ava DuVernay's team. They want you on her show." Ibrahim paused, his brow furrowing. He knew of Ava, her films, her ability to unearth human truths, but he wasn't one for media spectacles. "Why me?" he asked, his voice low. "They say they've been following your leadership." His assistant replied, "They want to know the man behind the title." After a long silence, he nodded. "Tell them I'll come," he said. No one, not Ava, not Ibrahim, not the millions who would tune in could have foreseen that this decision would lead to a moment that would ripple across the globe, not by Wednesday evening. Ibrahim was in Los Angeles, seated in the green room of Ava DuVernay's studio. The set buzzed with anticipation, the lights casting a warm glow over the waiting audience. Ava herself walked in backstage, her presence commanding yet warm, her smile disarming. "Mr. Traoré," she said, extending a hand, "I've been looking forward to meeting you." Ibrahim stood, shaking her hand with a quiet strength. "And I you," he replied, his eyes steady. Beneath the polite exchange, a subtle tension simmered. Ava was known for her incisive questions, her ability to peel back layers and reveal raw truths. Ibrahim, though calm, was no stranger to confronting hard realities. As they stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted in applause, unaware that the smiles they saw would soon give way to tears. Ava began gently, asking about Ibrahim's childhood. In a small Burkina village, his unexpected rise to power, and his vision for Burkina Faso's future. Ibrahim answered with humility, his words deliberate, his voice steady like a river carving its path. The audience leaned in, captivated by his quiet intensity. Then Ava's tone shifted. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp yet compassionate. "Mr. Traoré," she said, "you speak so eloquently of hope, of change. But Burkina Faso remains one of the world's poorest nations. People are still suffering under your leadership. How do you reconcile that with the vision you paint?" The question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The studio grew heavy with silence. Ibrahim didn't flinch. He met Ava's gaze, his eyes unwavering, and then, in a voice so soft it seemed to carry the weight. "Of the world," he said, "poverty is not what you think it is, Ms. DuVernay, and perhaps it's time someone told you the truth." The audience froze. Ava's breath caught, her usual poise faltering for a moment. For the first time in her storied career, she seemed unsure, her eyes searching his. "Then tell me," she said, her voice steady but softer now. "If poverty isn't what we think, what is it?" Ibrahim leaned back, his hands folded in his lap, and took a slow breath. "Poverty," he began, "is not just the absence of wealth. It's the absence of dignity. It's a mother who feels invisible as her children go hungry. It's a farmer who prays for rain that never comes. It's a child who stops dreaming because no one ever told them their life matters." Ava's lips parted slightly, her eyes glistening under the studio lights. The audience was silent, afraid to breathe. Ibrahim continued, his voice calm but piercing. "What breaks people isn't empty pockets. It's the belief that the world has decided they're worth nothing." Ava blinked rapidly, as if trying to hold back an unexpected wave of emotion. The silence stretched, heavy and unbroken, as the weight of his words settled over the room. The camera zoomed in, capturing the raw vulnerability in her expression. "I've sat across from world leaders, artists, survivors," Ava said, her voice low, almost trembling. "But no one has ever put it like that." She paused, her hand resting on her chest. "And no one has ever made me feel it like that." A tear slipped down her cheek, catching the light. The audience stirred, some dabbing at their eyes, others clutching their neighbors' hands. Ibrahim remained still, his gaze gentle but unyielding. "It's never too late," he said quietly, "to see people again." Asterisk. At that moment, something shifted in the studio. A woman in the front row sniffled, wiping her eyes with a tissue. A man in the back let out a quiet sob. Even the camera operators, usually detached, blinked back tears. Ava's head bowed slightly, her composure cracking further. When she looked up, her smile was soft, almost childlike. "You have a gift, Mr. Traoré," she said, her voice thick. "You remind us what it means to be human." Ibrahim shook his head gently. "I don't have a gift," he replied. "I only remind people of what they already know, but have forgotten how to say." The audience erupted in applause, tentative at first, then swelling into a standing ovation. Ava stood too, wiping her cheeks, and embraced him. For the first time in years, she seemed unconcerned with the cameras, the ratings, or the show's schedule. As the applause faded, Ava regained some composure, though her voice still trembled. "If you could change one thing about the world today," she asked, "what would it be?" Ibrahim looked down at his hands, the room holding its breath. When he spoke, his words carried a weight that silenced the crowd. "I would erase the belief that some lives matter less than others," he said. "We've built systems that measure worth by wealth, by skin color, by borders. But a mother in Burkina Faso weeps the same tears as a mother in Los Angeles when her child suffers. Yet the world looks away from her pain, as if she was born to endure it." Ava swallowed hard, her eyes shimmering again. "That," Ibrahim added, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "is the greatest violence of all, to make someone feel invisible." The studio felt colder, heavier, as his words sank in. Audience members sat on the edge of their seats, some clutching tissues, others staring in stunned silence. A woman in the third row sobbed openly, whispering to her neighbor, "He's right. He's so right." Ava looked at the camera, her voice soft but steady. "I think everyone watching at home is feeling what we're feeling here," she said. Ibrahim gave a small, sad smile. "We all know the truth," he said. "We just forget to feel it." Then he shared a story that would haunt the audience long after the cameras stopped rolling. "Just days before I came here," he said, "a boy in my village clung to my leg. He didn't ask for money or food. He begged me to tell the world they exist. 'Don't forget us,' he said." Ava's hand went to her heart sharply, as if the words had struck her physically. Several audience members broke down, their sobs echoing in the quiet studio. Even before the interview ended, clips were spreading online. On Twitter, the hashtag #DONT Forget Us trended within minutes. Viewers worldwide shared their own stories of feeling unseen, ignored, or forgotten. YouTube comments scrolled too fast to read, filled with messages like, "I'm crying. Thank you for this, and this hurts because it's true." Back in the studio, Ava stood, taking Ibrahim's hand. "I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice cracking. "But I promise I won't forget." Ibrahim smiled warmly, the first full smile of the night. "That," he said, "is all I could ever ask." They embraced again, and a producer in the corner, who had never cried on the job, wiped his eyes. Discreetly. As the show went to commercial, the studio remained hushed. Ava sat back in her chair, staring at the floor, her usual confidence replaced by something raw. Ibrahim leaned forward slightly. "You carry the world's stories," he said softly. "But you don't have to carry them alone." Ava looked up, her eyes meeting his. "How do you do it?" she whispered. "How do you keep your heart open?" Ibrahim's reply was simple, yet it would become the most quoted line of the night. "You can't change what you won't let yourself feel." When the cameras returned, millions saw a side of Ava in themselves they hadn't known existed. Ava gathered herself, her voice still shaky. "Where does this wisdom come from?" she asked. "Were you always this way?" Ibrahim's gaze softened. "I wasn't born wise," he said. "I was born in dust." He spoke of his mother, who raised him in a small hut with a leaking roof and empty shelves. "She told me, we may have nothing in our hands, but don't let your heart become empty," he said. He recalled waking at 5 to find her boiling stones in a pot to quiet his hunger when there was no food. "I asked why she didn't cry," he said, his voice breaking for the first time. She said, "If I cry, who will teach you to hope?" The studio fell silent, some audience members weeping openly. Ava covered her mouth, trembling. "Pain can make you bitter or better," Ibrahim added. "But you must choose." The hashtags #BetterNotBitter and #DONTForgetUs exploded online. One viewer tweeted, "I've never cried watching an interview. Ibrahim Traoré speaks for everyone who's ever felt invisible." Another wrote, "This man just changed my life." With one sentence. Ava, her eyes glistening, said, "You've given us a gift tonight, Ibrahim." He shook his head. "The gift," he replied, "is that you listened." He reached into his jacket, pulling out a folded photograph of his mother, holding him as a child. "She'd want me to remind you," he said, placing it on the table, "that no matter how much you carry, you're not alone." Ava held the photo, tears falling freely, and the audience gave another standing ovation. The longest of the night. As the applause quieted, Ava reached under her chair, her hands trembling. "I wasn't going to share this," she said, unfolding a worn letter. "It's from a girl in Selma, Alabama, who wrote to me years ago. She said she wanted to give up because she felt no one cared if she lived." Ava's voice broke as she held up the letter. "Tonight, Ibrahim, you said what I wish I'd told her." Ibrahim took the letter, reading it silently. "She's still here," he said with quiet certainty, "because when even one person sees her, she finds the courage to stay." Ava gasped, covering her mouth. A staffer slipped her a note. The girl had just tweeted, "I'm watching this. I'm still here. Thank you." The broadcast, meant to end minutes earlier, kept rolling. Ava answered a phone call on speaker. A timid voice came through. "Ms. DuVernay, is this live?" Ava nodded at Ibrahim. "Yes, sweetheart," she said. The girl sobbed. "I thought no one saw me." Ibrahim's eyes glistened. "You are seen," he said firmly. "And you matter more than you know." The girl whispered, "You saved me." Ava broke down, covering her face. Ibrahim rested a hand on her shoulder. "You've been saving lives all along," he told her. "Tonight just reminded you why." The studio erupted in quiet applause, some standing again. Ava, through her tears, whispered, "You have the heart of a lion." As the interview ended, the audience lingered, unwilling to leave the warmth of what they'd witnessed. Ava hugged Ibrahim goodbye. "I thought I was here to interview you," she said, "but you've taught me more in 1 hour than I've learned in years." Ibrahim smiled faintly. "Pain teaches us faster than privilege," he replied. "But the heart decides what we do with it." Twitter exploded with #Lionheart and #IamSeen trending worldwide. One post read, "If every leader spoke like Ibrahim Traoré, we'd remember we're human first." Another said, "I've never cried so hard watching TV. Bless Ava for letting this happen." Before leaving, Ibrahim faced the cameras one last time. See the invisible, hear the voiceless, stand for the forgotten. That's where humanity begins, he said. The broadcast faded, but the world felt the ripple. The studio stayed quiet as Ava sat, staring into the distance. Ibrahim stood at the set's edge, silent. Ava approached him, her makeup streaked. "Why did you come here?" she asked. He smiled humbly. "To remind people that being seen is the greatest gift we can give. You see millions, Ava, but who sees you?" Her lips trembled. "Even the strongest are fighting to be heard," he added. "You've taught the world to listen. Now let it listen to you." Ava whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." They hugged, no cameras capturing it, but millions felt it. The next morning, the world buzzed with humanity. Clips of Ibrahim's words filled screens. Cafes looped the interview. Classrooms discussed seeing the invisible. In Ouagadougou, thousands gathered, holding signs reading, "We are seen, and better, not bitter." Children wore T-shirts with Ibrahim's face. In Los Angeles, students painted a mural of Ava holding his mother's photo, captioned, "Hope is a choice." Ava, at home, watched replays, her chest tightening at "See the Invisible." She messaged Ibrahim, "You changed more lives in 1 hour than most do in a lifetime. You changed mine." In Burkina Faso, Ibrahim smiled reading it. By week's end, 120 million had watched the interview, dubbed the year's most moving moment. At a village school, a girl asked Ibrahim, "Why did you make Ava cry?" He crouched, smiling. "Sometimes tears are how hope finds its way back." Ava signed off her next show. We all carry unseen battles, but someone like Ibrahim reminds, "You were still worthy of love." Viewers wept, feeling seen. Dear viewer, if this story touched you, hit like, subscribe, and comment. I am seen. Let's keep the ripple going.